Today, I want to talk about some types of people that we've all dealt with. And to be honest, a lot of us have been this way in our lives. I want to discuss petty people. The word petty means something that's small or insignificant, trivial. But when it comes to petty people, there's nothing small or insignificant about them because they can be huge problems in our lives. I want to talk about how you recognize these people, how you deal with these people, and if you're one of these type of people, the one thing you need to do to stop being so petty. Number one, petty people don't let go. They don't let go of anything. Number two, petty people have this need for attention. And number three, petty people need to grow up. First of all, let's deal with the first one. They don't let go. Petty people have a tendency to remember everything. They don't necessarily tell you when you've offended them or you've done something that they disagreed with, but rest assured they remember it. Sometimes they do tell you over and over and over and over again. And you've apologized and you've begged for forgiveness and you've pleaded with them just to let it go. And they keep reminding you over and over and over again. You see, to them, when they're wronged, when they're offended, they have this incessant need to remind you and remind the whole world about it because they're so self-absorbed that their pain and discomfort becomes the most important thing in the world. One of the worst things you could do is to upset a petty person. And when we recognize these people, they overreact so much that we find ourselves walking on eggshells around them because we just don't want to deal with the drama that's going to follow. Petty people act like if they release something, if they forget it, if they let it go, that somehow they're being ripped off. They're not being treated right. The problem is they have such a small amount of confidence, or their lives are really not about much, that they feel the need to live out of their pain or live out of their offenses, to live out of what someone did to them years ago. This is terrible because, number one, you can take a good situation, a good relationship, and destroy it by being petty, by not being able to rise above little offenses and overlook them, or to let them go even when the person apologizes to you. It's not good. Petty people like to hold on to things, old anger and grudges, and feed them. And, they act like they want to have closure and they want to bring this offense to an end, but they don't. They get joy out of rehashing what hurt them years ago. And see, that brings us to the next thing. They want attention. Petty people love attention. They love to stand where there's people around and cry and whine and scream about what hurt them and what bothered them. And then when you ask them when this happened, they'll tell you years ago. They love it. They'll do anything and everything they can, be dramatic even, to get attention to what happened to them. Now see, that's the key in learning how to deal with them. Once you encounter a petty person, when they bring stuff up like this, when they set traps to get you upset and frustrated, ignore them. Everything in you wants to engage with them. Everything in you wants to explain why it's not as bad as they think it is, or how you apologize to them, or how in the world they can get so offended by something so insignificant. Don't walk into that trap. It's a waste of time. Petty people don't operate off of logic. It's pure emotion. And you cannot deal with someone who's emotional by using logic and reasoning. You have to ignore them and let that stuff play out. because you're going to frustrate yourself trying to show this person something that makes sense. All they want is attention. They're not going to listen to your explanation. They don't care about bringing things to a close. They just want to bring things back up over and over and over again. Somehow they're defined by this conflict and tension. And when things die down and become peaceful, nothing brings them more joy than to mess up the atmosphere with their gripes and complaints and overreactions. When you recognize a petty person, just walk around them, avoid them. When they set traps, they want to get you to respond to some ridiculous statement, or they want to get you upset and start fighting them. Ignore it. Treat it like what it is. It's a trap. And you walk around traps. You recognize them and you avoid them, no matter what they use for bait. Oh, they'll bait you. They'll bait you by insulting you, by exaggerating what happened. Whatever it is they use to get you into their petty little arguments, just walk away. Nothing frustrates a petty person more than them not getting attention that they want. Finally, the reason people are petty is because they just won't grow up. Sometimes this is just because they refuse to mature in certain areas of their life. Sometimes they become petty because something happened to them and that part of who they are is frozen in the past in that event. And for whatever reason, they refuse to let it go and move on. There are even people that walk around afraid to get into relationships because something bad happened in the past, and they won't let that go, and that prevents them from trusting anyone or forgiving anyone. And those people, though they may start out as nice, sweet people, all those negative emotions make them petty. Let me give you a word of advice here before I go. Never try to walk into a relationship while you're carrying the fear of being hurt again. You can't do it. If you enjoyed our discussion today, you could read more about this and other related topics in my book, Building a Better You, Being Real, Letting Go, and Moving On. You can also follow me on Twitter, Facebook, or send me an email. Just click on the links in the description.